A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to draw your attention to the topic at hand for the next few minutes or so. The impact of procurement on the financial performance of large-scale apparel manufacturers of Sri Lanka. As you could see, the presentation for the next few minutes or so is structured as depicted here. Moving on to the subject matter, as our chair introduced, the apparel industry set its views of progress in motion simultaneously with the liberalization of the Sri Lankan economy in 1977. And since then, it's no secret that the apparel industry has come a long way. But however, if I take your attention to these two graphs here, one looks at the global context and the other looks at the local context of the apparel industry. From a global perspective, the apparel industry of Sri Lanka holds a market share of just 1.2% compared to its rival competitors. But when you take it from a local context, that is from the perspective of us Sri Lankans, this market share is at 44%, and it stands as a giant leading the export orientation of our country. Regardless of this 44% of share that it holds, or rather regardless of the 4.4 billion contribution it makes to the GDP of the country, as pointed out by authors in literature, both past and present, it's indicated that this apparel industry suffers with several challenges in terms of the complexity of supply chains and also the rising production cost, with procurement being one of the contributory factors to this rising production cost. And also further, the rise of countries such as China, Vietnam, India, Bangladesh, or new industrialized countries or low-cost countries as we call them, has made it difficult for the local apparel manufacturers to compete in the market. Because if we can produce a garment for say $2, they could produce it for much lesser. So given this scenario, and also because of the pressure that is inserted on the apparel manufacturers locally, they have begun, and also due to the characteristics of this apparel industry such as product variety, etc., they have started purchasing rather than procuring their materials, again leading to a high production cost. In line with that, the research objectives that were set for the study was simply to firstly identify what are the internal and what are the external factors that could have an impact on the procurement performance. Secondly, to identify what type of relationship that exists between the procurement performance and financial performance. And finally, to contemplate possible future procurement beyond 2015 and 16. The research questions for the purpose of achieving the research objectives that were set was briefly to identify what are the internal factors, what are the external factors, and how can these affect the procurement performance, and also further, how can this procurement performance affect the financial performance of these large-scale apparel manufacturers, and also the extent to which it has an impact. Upon analysis of the literature, as you could see, it was indicated by these authors in 2013. In their study, it showed how this procurement function that we call as cost center could be used as competitive tool in the battle of this market environments. Further on, in 1998, these authors indicate how companies have now shifted their focus towards this purchasing function, as they call it, for the simple objective of benefiting from cost advantages that it could provide. Other studies in 2014 by these authors, as you could see, indicated that with the change of time, the view, the perception, and how organizations look at things have changed, and as a result of this, they are better able to keep up with the dynamism of the apparel industry. Studies by these authors in 2014 and 2009 indicate and show how they have analyzed internal factors, namely staff competency, budgeting procedures, etc., to see how it can affect the procurement performance. Opposed to these studies, the authors, as represented in the next column, in 2004, 2009, and 2014 respectively, show how external factors, opposed to the internal factors, could have an effect on the procurement performance. Upon this analysis, the next analysis of the literature was in 2014 to identify how this role of procurement basically has evolved within companies. The bottom line here is that these authors sum up and show how companies are now moving their focus, their perceptions, their values, and even their objectives and resources towards this procurement function to unlock the potential that it has. In line with the literature review that was analyzed, it was identified that there was a gap that was persistent in terms of linking this internal and external factors on the procurement performance and its impact on the financial performance in return. In line with that, the conceptual framework was developed as shown here on the screen. As you can see, financial performance here is a dependent variable with internal procurement factors and external procurement factors being the independent variables. Contributory factors to these internal and external procurement factors were respectively identified, again extracted and analyzed through the literature that was used. As you could see, staff competency, ICT adaptation, internal procedures and top management involvement are the supporting contributory internal procurement factors, while financial environment, political changes, social and cultural changes and environmental fluctuations here are the external contributory procurement factors. In line with the conceptual model that was developed, the empirical model was formed. As you could see here, Y is a dependent variable representing financial performance, and it's a function of x1 and x2 respectively. As you could see, x1a to x1d indicates the internal contributory procurement factors, and x2e to x2h represent the external contributory procurement factors. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, again categorized here for the ease of the study are the internal contributory procurement factors, external procurement factors, and also in the preceding column you could see the indicators that was used for it, and on the other column the measurement. Basically all of these variables were measured with the use of a 5-point Likert scale. When it comes to financial performance, it was used with a semi-structured questionnaire, as in the questionnaires that were used with the 5-point Likert scale, plus the company reports. According to Apparel of 2014, roughly or approximately there are about 300 large-scale apparel manufacturers within the Colombo district. Since the sample requires 10%, the study took into account 30 companies within the Colombo district and on the basis of a simple random sampling method. The data collection tools, as mentioned prior, were the primary and secondary sources, with the primary sources being interviews and semi-structured questionnaires, and the secondary sources being company financial reports and literature, as well as journals, both past and present. The data analysis was conducted with the use of both SPSS and AMOS softwares, as you are all familiar, I suppose, as researchers. The validity was tested with the use of an expert approach, and the reliability and model fit indicators and other relevant preceding tests were done with the use of those softwares. The data analysis output is what you see here, that was obtained with the use of the softwares mentioned before. As you could see, sample adequacy, which was tested through the KM1 Bartlett test, stands at a value of 0.503. Since it's within the standard range of values as indicated in the preceding column, it could be considered an adequate sample. Further, the reliability statistics, or as we researchers call it, the extent to which the sample could be generalized, was tested with the Cronbach alpha and indicated a value of 0.575. Again, since it was within the range of standard values, it was considered reliable. The C-mean upon DF model fit was again stood at a value of 1.338 and considered a fit model. Root mean square of approximation stood at a value of 0.108 and considered the model fairly fit. Here you could see the coefficients, staff competency as a positive relationship, meaning that when the staff within the procurement department I'm referring to here are at its highest level of performance, it represents a positive value, positive relationship. The involvement of the top level management, however, is a negative relationship here. This could be a contradictory factor because when it comes to strategic level, they focus on the long-term formulation of strategies that could have an impact on the company rather than the tactical and for functional levels that focus on the short term. Use of ICT internal procedures respectively again show a positive relationship, mainly due to the efficiency and enhancements it brings about in the procurement department. Financial environment, political changes, again positive relationships. Due to the political stabilities, the favorable exchange rates, interest rates, fluctuations, etc. of the country. Environmental fluctuations, however, here show a negative relationship because environmental fluctuations are beyond the control of the organization. Social and cultural changes, on the other hand, show a positive relationship. As you could see highlighted here, internal procedures and environmental fluctuations show significance with the financial performance. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the findings of this research indicate that there is a relationship between internal and external factors on procurement performance, and with the exception of these two factors, the involvement of the top level management and environmental fluctuations. Further, the study also shows that there is a positive relationship between the procurement performance and financial performance of large-scale apparel manufacturers of Sri Lanka. Therefore, it can be mentioned that this study found out that companies should indeed shift their focus towards procurement rather than purchasing if they are to benefit from the competitive advantage and give them that edge that enables them to compete in the organized industry. Areas of further study: this study could be replicated in other industries. This is only the apparel industry. It could be replicated in other industries or similar, same industry at maybe a different level or different scales. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.